bookshop. It's the bookshop. It's the bookshop of Beverly Farms.
Howdy, everybody. It is Sam Feifel, your host of John Updike's Ghost, your favorite little podcast about reading, literature, bookstores, dealing with having just too many books to read because, oh my God, there's just such a big pile, and having to come back from vacation, which is brutal. I am joined, as always, by the co-owner of the bookshop of Beverly Farms, my sister, and all-around amazing reader, Hannah Harlow. How are you doing today, Hannah?
I mean, I am great, but you have a big stack of birthday books.
I do have a big stack of birthday books. For people who are interested in such things, I've had a 50th birthday, which means it is all downhill from here. But as Gus, my son, will say, I have made it halfway. So I can't be too upset.
Very
about
optimistic,
that.
yes.
I know. And I did get a big pile of books. People have rightly ascertained by my 50th birthday that I enjoy reading. So that is generally what I get. And now everybody participates. This is an inside joke in our family, is that when we give each other like concert tickets or gift certificates of any kind, we stick them inside a book that we've already given them in the past so that when they unwrap the present, they're like, oh my God, you already gave me this book. But really,
Good one.
It's tickets. And so I have done that to other people to the point where people have now done it to me. And I got what I thought to be a third copy of Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell. But no, actually, it was tickets to
Did you
play in the Crooner, I believe. I think I'm going to see that.
Yeah, so Leon Bridges
and
yep.
Charlie Crockett.
I saw that.
That'd be awesome.
I saw the ticket floating around the house. Did your wife actually buy?
You couldn't.
No, I wasn't. I missed it. I was working in our bookstore.
Mm.
Yeah. Did your wife actually buy another copy of Jonathan Strange?
No. She just took it off the shelf.
I really hope not.
No.
I love that book, but we don't need to own.
No. You never buy another book. You just take something off the shelf that they obviously have. So it makes you look like a terrible present giver. But actually, you're a great present giver.
Yes. Okay. I love that. It's a very exciting podcast today because we have read the same book.
We have. It's very rare that we read the same book. So we should talk about our agenda. I'm very excited about my agenda because, I have two books. Normally when I go on vacation at camp, I read a bunch of books. I admit that book one, which is Ramona by Helen Hunt Jackson, was a bit of a slog. It took me a little bit longer than I wanted it to take. However, it's an important and interesting book that I will get into later.
No, I'm like super pumped about this book.
Yeah. And then also I read, as I know you did, Dungeon Crawler Carl, which was one of my birthday presents. So I did read one of them. So that's my entire agenda.
Okay. So I read, of course, Dungeon Crawler Carl. I also read Best of All Worlds by Kenneth Oppel, which is a YA novel.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm halfway through, but I'm going to talk about quickly These Summer Storms by Sarah MacLean.
Wow. These Summer Storms.
Mm-hmm. This is a good summer book, so it feels like the right time to talk about it. And I feel like I've got the gist.
You've got the gist. Why don't we start with Dungeon Crawler Carl, because our audience is probably less likely than most to know what this book is or why the two of us would have read it.
Right.
Because it's a little bit outside of our normal literary fare, I would say.
This is what everyone said to me when they saw me reading it was, this doesn't seem like a Hannah book.
No.
But I actually really liked it.
Yeah, no, I mean, it does seem like a Sam book, I think.
It's a dude book.
It is 100% a dude book. I think it's, written by dudes for dudes.
Right. So Dungeon Crawler Carl, from what I understand, was originally self-published to great success and has now been picked up by a traditional publisher and has been hitting the bestseller lists kind of periodically. Like, I believe it's been out for a little while now. And because you wrote it down when you were working in the store like months ago, like, I think maybe we should have this book on the shelf. And I was like, I don't know what this is. This looks like not our kind of book. But then I did bring it in, and then we kind of periodically sold one here or there. And I just have become more and more curious about it. And like, I believe there were like 7 of them. I'm not really sure, but
well, I hope
more
there's
coming
more.
out.
The way that this one ended would suggest that
Oh, there are
there's a little
definitely
bit more
more.
story to tell.
Yes, no, there for sure are more. I just don't remember how many. And I was talking to our sales rep, and she was like, you know what? I read them, and I read the first one, and I crushed it. And I just thought it was interesting that she really liked it. So then I thought, I kind of want to try this.
Yeah.
I was just curious.
The guy's name is Matt Dinniman. And Dungeon Crawler Carl is like an online phenomenon. People who go on to Reddit, reddit.com. I mean, our listeners are varied and wild, and we've even had, I know there are podcast listeners who are on Reddit. We came from Reddit. But if you don't go there very often, it's like, an online community that has little slices and pages and communities for every possible interest group you can imagine. There is a books one, there's an audiobooks one, and then there are things that, there might be one just for Lord of the Rings or one for just whatever. In the books and audiobooks sections, which are populated by millions of people, for the past 2 years, Dungeon Crawler Carl has been the most common suggestion when people ask, what awesome book are you reading?
Wow.
People just love this book. They love the audiobook and they love the book. And Matt, he's an author anyway. It's not like it's his first book and he's just, coming out of the gate swinging. But I guess he wrote he wrote the first one at least, and I think probably a large portion of the other ones during the pandemic when he was feeling miserable. Definitely a pandemic book. And I think he was just looking for something fun that, I don't know, because on some level it's, it's like reading a video game, right? So
it is like reading a video game.
For people like me who play lots of video games, it is really immediately recognizable as a smash up of Minecraft and Dungeons and Dragons and, Fortnite or something, right? It's an adventure game where you take on somebody's avatar and, you have hit points and health, points. You
have a health bar, you have
weapons and all these different things. And then you try to get
rewards for doing things.
Yeah. But I think
that you add to your inventory. Yeah.
If you don't play video games, I think it's, much more opaque as to what is happening.
I mean, I don't really play video games, but I've played just enough to know what's happening in this book. There were certainly certain terms that I was like, I think this is like a video game thing happening, like the debuffs or rebuffs, or I don't know what those are really. But so there were occasions where I was like, I'm just going to skim over this and assume everything's still going to make sense. And it did. It was fine. I think
tell people what it is actually about.
Yes. So the book opens. Carl is chasing his cat or his ex-girlfriend's cat outside in the middle of winter, in the middle of the night. And all of a sudden, there is a catastrophic event. So all of the buildings, anything with a roof, collapses to the earth. And if you're inside a building or a car or anything with a roof over it, you are now dead. So Carl has lucked into not dying, and he's only in his boxer shorts and pair of Crocs, and there's a tunnel that offers warmth. So he goes into the tunnel, and now he's entered into this video game. And the premise is that there's this alien, there are all these aliens out there, and they've created these game shows. And now it's Earth's turn to be this season's game show. But the game show operates like a video game.
Yeah, and it's a little bit like Survivor or Big Brother or whatever, where everybody's watching and the amount of people gets whittled down, and at the end there is, one winner or whatever. It's just in this
which means
case,
only one human is going to survive.
Right, one human on the planet makes it.
But there are trillions of aliens watching this reality show. Yes. I think the confusing thing when describing it is it's both a reality show and a video game.
Yeah. I mean, the reality show, it's because they have some sort of crazy technology. It allows these people to, take potions to make their health better and to, be able to deploy weapons and open things with their minds and all kinds of nonsense. That
and
part,
you have
that's
patrons,
all hand waving, it's like, there's lots of technology that makes this possible. It doesn't make any sense, really.
Oh no, I mean, you just have to roll with it.
Right, exactly. I
Like,
think
it's
that's
absurd.
and that's the central question as to whether you are going to enjoy this book or not is, if you need some sort of like reality, this book is not going to be for you.
Oh
Like,
no.
you have to
No.
enjoy, the idea that there are orcs and, llamas that spit at you and all that sort of stuff, which is ridiculous. And then you
Well, not like the
also,
technology is available that the aliens could just make all this happen. Like,
they appear,
yeah,
happens. But I think the other thing you have to be able to roll with is like, it's not just, first person from the perspective of a guy. It is also like just sort of dude bro language.
oh yes.
Well,
That's so my big issue, and
right.
maybe it's part of I'm just a girl here. Like, I found it just unnecessarily crass sometimes, where I was just like, why did that alien have to have enormous breasts? Like, it was absurd, right? Like, it's just these little details where you're like, it just could have been a regular alien. Like, I don't know.
Yeah,
Do you know
I
what
mean, I think it's definitely trying to appeal to guys or whatever, right?
Yeah.
And I think it gets into a bigger discussion about where sort of literature is right now, in that, as we've talked before, most major releases are geared towards a more female audience. Females read way more than men. Women, are much more likely to participate in the book of the month club things that, Oprah has and Jenna has and, Reese has and all that sort of stuff. And so I think, as a guy who reads lots of these books, I might say that it's unnecessarily flowery or whatever. Why do I need a
Right.
description of this woman's outfit? I don't care what she's wearing or whatever.
Sure.
Like, oh, it's a Louis Vuitton bag. Am I supposed to know what that looks like? Or, stupid crap like that. So, I think I didn't find it that crass in general.
I mean, it wasn't that bad. Just every once in a while, I was kind of like, And it made me think, you know what, if this had been traditionally published from the jump, I bet a lot of that stuff would have been would have been cleaned up. Yeah. Like, sure. And so for that part, for that reason, I did sort of appreciate, it felt a little bit more raw because it felt like it hadn't been edited, it hadn't been published by committee.
Right. And it also is super non-traditional in its storytelling and its presentation in a way that I think would have turned off, publishing executives. Like, there's lots of block text that explains the creature we've just encountered, or there's, weird sort of breaks in the action, to explain, back details that, don't need to be explained right this second or whatever. And the voice is, I mean, we were talking about this, Kim. The voice reminds me a lot of Andy Weir, and Andy Weir gets a lot of criticism for not being great for women or whatever,
right.
Which I get. And I think it's something about this really direct first person narration. And that I often complain that the first person narration deviates into this weird kind of third space where the first person sort of seems to know stuff that they wouldn't know, or they foreshadow things in a way that they wouldn't foreshadow or whatever. Like this one, it really often does feel like a dude just telling us what's going on, just a stream of consciousness from, some guy.
I mean, I don't want every book to be for everybody. So if this is a book for dudes, great. And I'm glad this exists, and I'm glad he had great success. I actually the reasons I liked it. I think he does a great job of just this is going to be a fun book. So yes, most of Earth's population just got destroyed. We're not going to dwell on that. We will mention it because obviously the guy's going to be thinking about it, but let's focus on the task at hand. And that made total sense to me of we're just going to have a good time here, and we're not going to dwell on the terrible things. And I thought it was really fast paced. I thought it moved quickly, and I thought he also did a good job of building the relationship with the cat. We haven't even talked about the talking cat.
Yes.
So the ex-girlfriend's cat comes into the tunnel with him and like very quickly gains the ability to speak and is like super, you have like all these levels, right? Or of like how charming you are, or how intelligent you are, or like whatever. And the cat's charm is like off the charts.
Charisma. Yes.
Yeah. And it's great. Like the cat's like a great foil.
Yeah, no, the cat's a great character. I do think, there is a interesting sense of morality. I think when you think about like, we're saying, oh, it's a dude bro book, that kind of comes with this like amoral, like, smashy kind of thing. But I actually think, Carl has a really good moral compass, and there is like some interesting commentary in the book on, it's not like a straight satire. Obviously, it's kind of sending up the vacuousness of modern culture. But I think there are some really nice little deft touches about, do we care about the rest of society, right? Are we just all out for ourselves? Do we get
totally
almost laughed at for not being out for ourselves? I think there's this whole American point of view, like, we need to help anybody, but obviously if you don't look out for your family first, you're a dummy. And it's like, well, no, actually it is possible to not look out for your family 100% first all the time. Yes, I can make personal sacrifices for the greater good. That's not an insane thing to do. It doesn't make you some kind of saint. Like, that's actually just a normal thing to do. I think this book does a good job of introducing that concept in the context of this kind of, very everyone out for themselves.
No, I like that part. And also then, also gets into like, what does it actually mean? Like, am I helping this person by, helping them survive in this like hellscape that we're in? Or like,
should I just let them
would I be helping them more if I let them die? Like that gets into it too, just with certain characters.
Yeah, no, totally. I think
there's also this question of like, is he going to leave the cat at some point because it would be better for him? And he's not, obviously, but like they set up that like moral quandary.
Yeah, like that one I actually thought was a little bit forced, like, because it comes back at the end conveniently. I guess that's the last thing to talk about is ultimately, I was addicted to this book in some ways. So I was thinking about it when I was not reading it and I wanted to go back and finish it, which is not the case with every book.
Yeah.
But it's pretty deeply unsatisfying the way it ends. Like I kind of need to go get the next book, which I guess is the point or whatever. But
that's the point, yeah.
In some of these series, there's a little bit more of, okay, we've reached a logical conclusion here. This is just literally finished level 2, time to go to level 3. Oh, that's in the next book.
Right. No, I guess that I couldn't figure out, like, what are the breaks in the books? Because this one was like the first 2 levels. I was like, it should be a level for every book or whatever. Like,
right, that would make some sense to me.
That would make some sense.
Right. At least that's like Harry Potter. Hey, you're one over time, like that has like this natural flow, which I could go with,
Right. It seemed like he got to the end of level 2 and was like, wow, this is already a long book, so I guess I need to end it here.
Right. Well, it was crazy because I wasn't sure how or where I was going to end. But like, you do this with a lot of books where, you get like 3/4 of the way through and you're just like, how are they going to finish this in the number of pages?
How are we going to wrap this up?
Like,
yes.
It doesn't seem like there's enough pages. I had that feeling after like 100 of the 300 pages. I was like, how does he wrap this in any way?
Yeah.
And he just didn't. So,
Right. But I agree because I read it thinking like, I'll just read the first book. Like I've got so many books to read and this isn't totally my jam. So I'm just curious and this will be it. But then I got to the end of the first book and I was like, crap, like I really do want to see what happens.
Yeah. Are all
like the way he ended it.
Yeah. Are all the other books as easily gettable as this one? Did they publish them all at once or what?
No, though I think the
do I have to go to Amazon or some shit to get the second book? Like that seems terrible.
Like definitely book 2 is out and book 3
Are they just
Yeah,
called
so
Dungeon Crawler
they're
Carl 2 or what?
I mean, they all have no different names, but
Oh.
the series is the Dungeon Crawler Carl series.
Oh, what's the second book called?
The second book is called Carl's Doomsday Scenario,
Oh, all right.
which I think is the second one based on the fact that it's the second most popular that's coming up in Book Manager.
Oh, it doesn't say like number 2 in the series on the thing?
Not in the like immediate listing here, which
Weird.
is kind of annoying.
That is kind of a fail. Well, anyway, we've explored that phenomenon pretty well, I would say. But, you know,
they're
would love to
rolling
hear-
out. So a lot of them are available. There's still some more coming.
Yeah. Would love to hear other people's experience with that if it's at all
Totally.
interesting.
Sam's going to jump into the Reddit thread now too, probably. So
Well, no, I can't now because like I got to read all of them before I. There is
right.
a like Reddit / Dungeon Crawler Carl, and so you can
I know.
just go and talk about the book. But
I think
I'm
he
not
mentions
gonna do
it in
that.
the acknowledgments.
Yeah, I'm not going to go there until I've read the whole thing. I think because I don't want to.
Wow.
And you know,
No.
normally I'm not a big ruiner worrier, but you know,
So you're going to keep going.
I think so.
At least number 2.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, I kind of want to see how he wraps it up, but you know, I don't know. I mean,
I
there's
will
definitely
say-
times where I didn't care, but
Yeah. Oh, I mean, I was saying to this before we hit record, but there were definitely times where I'd get halfway through a paragraph and be like, yeah, got it. Like, we'll just jump ahead here. Like, I don't know. Then you get into like the intricacies of like the game. And I'm like, I don't know. Who cares?
yeah, and like there's like the boss fights or whatever, and you're like, yeah, I know you're gonna win the boss fight. Like,
Right. You're going to win this boss fight. So
let's get this faster. You know,
fast
okay.
forward.
Yeah. You know, but I
That's
think he mostly does a good job of trying to move the plot forward with the fights and stuff. You know.
Yeah. I mean, and also like, yeah, things get a little gross in the fights,
Yeah, there's some gore,
which is fine. Yeah.
100%. All right.
Okay. I should go next because you only have one more, right? I have
Correct.
2 more.
Yes, I was just
Okay. So I'll keep it with the sci-fi fantasy
Let's do
here.
it. YA.
Best of All Worlds by Kenneth Oppel is a YA book, and it came out about a month ago. And I had the advanced reading copy because I went to a trade show, and the editor talked about this book, and the editor was like over the moon. I don't know. The editors always get up at these things and they're like, this is the best book I've ever worked on in my whole career. And you're like, really?
Every
You know,
year.
like,
Weird, yeah.
Every editor happens to have worked on the, I don't know. It's a little crazy, but he did make it sound super interesting. So I finally got around to it. But the premise is this, I think he's 13 when the book opens. This 13-year-old kid goes with his dad and his stepmom to their cabin, like on a pond.
Yeah.
Right? He lives in, I think, New York. Or no, they live in Canada. He lives in Montreal.
Oh, okay.
Or Toronto.
It's going to be set in Maine again.
No. They're in Canada. And they go to their cabin for the weekend. So they arrive at night, they go to sleep, and when they wake up, the kid looks out the window and like the pond isn't there. And he's like, what the heck?
That's
And,
weird.
like, but the house is the same. They go outside and it's like, now there's a barn and there are like chickens in the barn, there are goats in the yard. And they're like, well, how did our house get here? And they keep walking and they like kind of run into an invisible wall. And like their technology no longer like they have the technology, like they have everything's the same, right? Like they have everything they came with, but like there's no service,
Right.
but they still have electricity. So anyway, they explore and they very quickly discover they're like in a dome.
Like
There's
the
like this
Truman Show.
invisible dome. Yeah. But they can't like reach anybody or like, they don't know what the heck's going on.
Right.
And so they have all the means to survive based on like the like animals they've been given, and there's like
farming,
tools for farming. So they just start like, working to sustain themselves until they figure out what's going on. And then the book jumps ahead 3 years. It's so crazy. Then all of a sudden you're like, it's 3 years later. And the kid's now 16 and they're still living. There's just the 3 of them. Oh, the other crazy thing, is that the stepmom is very pregnant when they arrive. And she gives birth like 2 days later. And they also, discover they have like marks in their back, lower backs.
Uh-huh.
So There are lots of theories about what's happening, but the theory they latch onto is that they've been like abducted by aliens.
Sure.
And then 3 years later, they've been like just living and farming and living in this house for 3 years. And this other family arrives in their dome. Yeah. And then things get dicey.
I would guess so.
The other family is like, MAGA family from Tennessee. So I don't know, I thought it was like really entertaining. You're like never sure-footed, right? Like you're like never really clear what's going on. But I like that it was like this really nice YA book, because then very quickly the main character is 16, and he's like, I've never even kissed a girl. Like now that I have no girls around. And of course, like the family that arrives has like
I bet they've got a girl.
Conveniently, he's got a pretty hot daughter.
Yeah.
So he gets to like, make out, and there's like some like canoodling or whatever. But it's just like a nicely like appropriate young adult book in terms of like the sex stuff.
Yeah.
But then also in terms of just like, the kid is kind of pushing like in this crazy world he's now in, pushing the boundaries of like his independence and like what he's able to do, and like how do you live a life when like if like this is all your life is going to be or whatever.
Right.
But then it's also good because you get answers at the end of like what happened to them and where they are.
Okay. Yeah. I was about to say, I don't know if what I was rooting for there, whether it's almost great if they don't give you the answers and it just ends. Like, I kind of like that.
Right. And also like, I don't know if everyone's gonna be satisfied with the answers. Like, it's like, oh, okay. Like I get like, it's not a cop out in any way. It's just like, oh, I guess we're just gonna do this.
Yeah.
So,
And then
I don't want to say, right.
Yeah,
but,
yeah. No, you don't want
but it's like, I don't know. It was like a nicely paced, not too long, not too short, like really solid YA book.
I like it. What's it called again?
The Best of All Worlds.
Best of All Worlds. All right. Okay. I like that. I've been struggling with the YA books. I look at the YA wall, so I used to read a ton of YA, and I look at the wall now and I'm like, I don't know what is appealing to me here.
That's how I was feeling. I was like, I haven't really read any YA lately, so I want to be reading some more YA. And I felt the same way where I was like, I don't really want to read the YA romantasy. I've been I feel like I started a couple other fantasy books and just like wasn't into them. So this one was like really nice to find, I felt like. Yeah,
no, I like it. That reminds me. So did you see the book that Stella was reading? Our little 10-year-old? I believe she was reading a Lynn Painter book. Yes. Which I maybe wouldn't have given a 10-year-old, but that's fine. So, yeah, it says on the, I have actually not seen this before. The book had right on the flap, 14 and up. Yeah, I was going to say, I haven't seen age warnings before. I've seen them on kids' books. Okay, well, so that's the whole question is, so it's a kid's book, but it's for 14 and up. And like, Stella was commenting that it had the F word in it. Sure. Yeah, it's young adult. It's YA. It's right, not so F word is cool for 14-year-olds. Like, what does 14 mean? Like that's. I don't know. Things are getting dicey. So I've been talking to a lot of friends about this because I have a 13-year-old. Right. And he loves dragon books. Yeah. And he has free reign of the Libby app where he listens to a ton of audiobooks. And I guess he forgot, like a few months ago, he's like, oh, there's this dragon book called Fourth Wing. And I was like, yeah, I'm actually reading it right now. And I don't think it's appropriate for you. I think you need to wait. Yeah. And apparently he forgot we had that conversation because last week he's like, I'm listening to Fourth Wing. Do you know this book? And I was like, yes, we talked about this. And, we had a conversation about it. And I said, he was a couple hours into the book. So, and things don't really get kind of graphic until the end of the book. Right. So I said, I'm not going to ban any books here. Right. Yeah. And I've read it, so I felt like I could talk to him about it. So we just had a really, frank conversation about the book. And, if things got too much for him, like he can fast forward, he can stop it. Like I totally trust him. Like I know what kind of reader he is, that like I trusted him to turn off the book if he didn't feel comfortable. Right.
So then I was talking to some other friends who have kids similar ages, and there was one friend who was like, yeah, all the 7th grade girls are reading Fourth Wing. And I was like, what? That seems a little crazy to me.
Right.
And then we were like, well, what's the right age? And, my other friend has a daughter who just finished her junior year, and she was like, she discovered them as a freshman. She's like, but lots of my other friends read them much earlier. And like,
Yeah, in
I don't
general, I also agree with you that most kids are like Wells in that if they are ready for it, they will keep reading it. If they are not ready for it, they'll just stop because it won't be interesting, really,
Right.
And most of them, if they get that far to be like published by a major publisher, they treat it like there's no like, if there is like a sexual assault or something, it's made pretty clear in the text, like this is not okay. This is not how you do it, and like
This
you
is
were
the other
saying,
thing.
Fourth Wing, it's like really good with the consent and stuff. And I think that's like 90% of all YA stuff now. Like, I think it's pretty rare that you would disagree with it,
No, this is a good point. The reason I was okay with Fourth Wing is that it's not, there isn't like sexual violence that would concern me that he would like hear or read that. Because I think that can be pretty traumatizing if it's too early. But like Fourth Ring is portraying like really like, it's like, women's fantasy.
Right. Very women's.
It's like very, very positive, very female forward. I was like, if this is what he's going to learn about how sex works, like, great. I think that's going to really behoove him in the future.
Right. Well, I think like for a little while, both of us commented a lot that like sexual assault was like the only way that they could make a female character interesting sometimes, It's like, oh, she was traumatized, had the sexual assault in her past, and now,
Right. Like that's the only thing we can come up with as like a bad thing that could have happened that she has to get over.
Yeah. And it's just like, but on the other hand, it does happen all too frequently. So, it's not like it's unrealistic.
So, I think this is all like super interesting because.
But I think the F word is super interesting, though, right? Like, we don't want to get the explicit tag from Apple, is why I don't use it. But obviously, in everyday life, I swear all the time. Don't care if anybody swears around me or if kids swear or whatever. And I think it's super interesting how society draws the line on like which words are allowed and which words aren't allowed and which words you can say on the radio and which, the George Carlin's 7 deadly words and all that kind of stuff. But I think it's interesting if the publishing industry has said 14 and up, we get the F word, 14 and under, we do not. Like, is that like a thing?
I think so. I think it's like, if it's designated as middle grade, like there can be no F words. I think if it's YA, I do feel like there may be maybe some of them have rules about like how many times you can say it. Like,
because in like a PG-13 movie, you get one F word, which I think is super funny.
Oh, maybe that's what I'm thinking.
A lot of PG-13 movies will play with that, and they'll like use it once, and then a second time they'll be about to use it, and an explosion goes off, and you can't hear it or whatever. But you hear it in your brain and they're like, oh, we passed the rule, I would love to know if publishing houses had like, is it written down somewhere that if you put in 3 F words, it will be designated 14 and up? That would be
Well, I'll do some digging, see if I can find some editors to talk to or something.
Yeah.
Get back to you.
So I will now talk about a book that definitely does not have the F word in it. Because it was written in the 1800s. I'm not even sure the F word was in common use in the 1800s.
Good question.
I'm not sure when it became like a everyday slang word. But this book is mostly interesting to me because of just the trappings of it and then what has happened to it since. So I found this book, which is called Ramona by Helen Hunt Jackson, in the book bin at the dump, right? So
the dump.
I think I've mentioned this before, but at our town dump. So I live in the middle of nowhere in Maine, in Gray, Maine, and we do not have curbside pickup for our trash. We have to bring our trash to the dump whenever we want to, but I go every week. And one of my favorite things about the dump is there is a bin that is specifically for books you don't want anymore. It's not like, we're going to put them on a shelf and shop for them. It is literally like a giant box that people just throw their books in. And it's because it's like easier to recycle them that way. They pulp them all or whatever,
Well, how long, do they sit there for, do you think, before they get pulped?
They clean it out probably once a week at least, it gets full every week. There's new stuff for me to paw through every week.
Every week. Wow.
And so it's mostly what happens is someone's cleaning out a house. They put in a ton of old books and you find really random, crazy shit. Like a lot of, the how-to manuals for an Apple II computer or, public accounting 101, lots of textbooks, lots of just like books that don't, a lot of phone books and stuff, just books that don't have a use anymore. But every once in a while, there's a treasure trove of like someone who had a decent library or something that died and their kids cleaned out their stuff. And it takes everything in my power not to bring home lots of books. I found this like awesome Russian dictionary there one time. I've found like really cool stuff. So this week I find Ramona, and like I've never seen it before, but it's got this great like watercolor painted cover of this woman on a horse being led by what looks to be like a Native American through this, Western landscape. So I'm like, okay, I'll take a look at that. And on the bottom, the quote is, "The greatest story of California ever written." And the quote is from the San Francisco Chronicle, which is, somewhat, legit publication. Then I look in it and it tells me in the printout that, it was copyrighted in 1884 originally, and that there have been 135 printings of this book by the time it was published, which looks to be the 50s or the 60s by the packaging. And that the Atlantic Monthly, which is generally well regarded in the literary world, has termed the story, quote, "one of the most artistic creations of American literature." So,
Right.
how does that book, and then also it's part of like this important book series put out by Grosset and Dunlap, a publisher out of New York, which I've never heard of. And they have, it's grouped in with The Naked and the Dead by Norman Mailer, Type E by Herman Melville, The Wayward Bus by John Steinbeck. So like, this is like,
Right. How have we never heard of this book?
I've never heard of it. Never heard of anything like it. I don't know who Helen Hunt Jackson is. I don't know what Ramona is. So I was like super intrigued. So I'm like, I got to read it. And, it's clunky because it's written in 1881. And I think anybody who's like gone back to read 1800s literature, even like the most revered books, just the style of writing is different. And you're just not as, it took me a little while to immerse myself in the language, and it never got like slick and easy. But it's a story that I really have not seen before. It's the story of the Mexican plantation owners who were living in what's now California when the United States basically conquered Mexico, kicked all the Mexican government out, and then started populating California with Americans. Most of them given land grants by Washington, D.C., which, in the late 1700s, early 1800s was obviously really far away from California, had no idea what they were giving land grants to. And then at the same time, there were Native Americans who had been living there for thousands of years, and they're getting displaced. So it's this interesting dynamic of Mexicans being driven out, the class system between the whites, the Mexicans, and the Native Americans, and like, what is law, right? So a lot of these Native Americans had land that was titled to them by the Mexican governor of California, so which they thought to be legally theirs, even though they didn't really recognize these laws anyway. And then the Americans come along and they're like, whatever, that's worthless paper because the governor of Mexico doesn't rule here anymore. We do. We have a different piece of paper. Therefore, we own this land. If you don't get off it, we get to shoot you. And all interspersed in that is this woman, Ramona, who is half Mexican, half native, being raised by her, not even her aunt, but like her mother is unknown. Her father is the love interest of this Senora Ortega. She agrees to take in the kid, but then she dies and gives it to her sister, right? So the sister has no tie whatsoever to Ramona. How does Ramona grow up and come of age in this, crazy, what is my social status? Then she meets Alessandro, who is a native, and they fall in love. And, just how can they possibly make their way in the world? And it's just fascinating, the cultural dynamics. Helen Hunt Jackson, obviously a super progressive person for her time, lots of amazing feminist themes in this, very pro-native, just puts in super stark relief how evil and amoral was the American government at this time. Thoughtless, treated Native people like, animals probably are not treated as well as they treated these people. And just like that, the Mexicans are above the natives, but the white people, obviously, it's just such an amazing commentary on what's going on right now when we're building $45 billion worth of immigrant detention centers when we have no right to this land in the first place. It's insane. It's insane. The arbitrariness of, if you cross this line without this person's permission, you are an illegal person. Whereas I just get to be here because I say so, because I don't know, manifest destiny or some crazy ass bullshit. We knew that this was wrong and crazy and immoral in 1883 when this book was written. Like, we are 150 years later, and we still don't know what the hell we're doing. We're still amoral bastards. And we
still suck.
We've let it happen again. We get opportunity and opportunity as a society to do the right thing, and just keep failing and failing and failing. And so it's
crazy. We've learned nothing. How have we learned nothing?
Yeah, and
like we're getting worse.
Because clearly, why did Ramona fall out of the classic status?
Right.
Why do I still read Moby Dick, which has like zero relevance to today? Like, we're not, it's you can kind of draw some parallels between the whaling and the oil drilling and whatever, but like, it really doesn't have much cultural commentary left for us, and we're forcing kids to read this book over and over again, or Tale of Two Cities or whatever, when we have books about America that were deemed classics and they've just completely fallen out of our...
I don't know. We need to alert somebody about this book. So, I'm just now pulling up the Wikipedia page for Helen Hunt Jackson, but fascinatingly, she's from Amherst, Massachusetts.
What?
She was a classmate of Emily Dickinson.
Whoa.
And they corresponded throughout their lives, but few of the letters survived. And get this, she went to school in Ipswich, Massachusetts.
Come on, for real?
I am not joking.
This is amazing.
This is so crazy to me.
We need to have like a Helen Hunt Jackson festival.
I know.
Or something. Like,
she attended Ipswich Female Seminary. Okay, and Ipswich Female Seminary was a female seminary in Ipswich, Massachusetts in like the late 1800s. No, from 1828 to 1876 or so.
Yeah. So, I mean...
Which, for people who don't know, that's the town I live in.
Right. We need to do something about this. We need to bring Helen Hunt Jackson back into prominence.
All right, we'll work on it.
We're going to do it. Does she write anything else?
I haven't gotten that far down the Wikipedia page.
You said the book's in print, though, right? The book's in print?
Did I look it up? I can't remember.
I thought you looked it up and there was like a Penguin Classics or something version of it.
Oh, yeah, there's a Signet edition, I think.
Yeah.
But I don't know, there are people like Brandon Taylor. He's an author who has a newish imprint with somebody else, and they're bringing back classics in like nice packages. And there are a couple other imprints doing this. So I feel like we just need to get on somebody's radar.
This would be such a good canon. I mean, it'd be a great movie too, actually. I probably was made into a movie.
Maybe.
But it's a great story. It's a great story. I mean, it's a tragedy, warning people.
Yeah.
Doesn't necessarily work out great for everybody that you care about in the book, but she tries to give it a little happy ending spin at the end.
Right, but it's not a happy ending, really.
No, I would not say so.
Okay. This is a terrible transition, but I just wanted to end on a summer reading note.
Summer reads, baby.
It is the height of summer right now. It is July. This is it. Let's get our summer reads on. And I am a little more than halfway done with a book called These Summer Storms by Sarah MacLean. And I'm really enjoying it. It's just a good beach read. I was writing a little card up for it, and I called it if Emily Henry wrote a novel of secession, like the TV show Secession, but a book written by Emily Henry. But it's These Summer Storms, written by Sarah MacLean. So this billionaire dies, and his family gathers on the private island in Rhode Island that he owns. And there's the main character is the third oldest, the middle-ish daughter. There are 4 kids.
Yeah.
And she's been kind of excommunicated, but she's kind of for the funeral. So everyone's super mad at her. It's a very chilly reception. But the dad's died, and he's left behind these inheritance games. So they all have tasks they need to complete in order to get the money.
Oh, inheritance games.
Mm-hmm. And then there's a bit of romance. So it's just, I'm finding it highly entertaining and just a really smooth read and really good for the beach.
Assuming you're okay with rich people books, which we have mostly lambasted lately.
Totally. Well, so Alice, the main character, is I don't need to do my task. I don't care about the money. But it's if everybody, it's all or nothing. Everybody has to do their tasks for everybody to get the money, and if one person doesn't do it, nobody wins. So
where does the money go?
I forget. Unclear. Doesn't matter.
Maybe
they don't get it.
Charity, and we should tank it.
Yeah. So Alice is just ready to leave, and everyone's no, you have to stay. And so it's is it worth it to her to get her family back?
Right.
Right.
Back into the fold.
Yeah. But obviously, I'm just so sick of people with too much money. Just the excess of wealth is getting so annoying.
I know. All right. Do we have anything to pimp? I don't think we do have anything to pimp, right?
Not really. It's quiet summer days. Yeah. We have to get our summer sale on the calendar.
Oh, yeah.
Which I think will be a week earlier than usual. But we will announce that next time.
All right. It's going to be in August sometime, right?
It's still in August. It's going to end on tax-free weekend instead of starting with tax-free weekend.
End on tax-free weekend. And we are buying a banner for this. Is that true? Is that a thing that's happening?
In theory, yeah. I haven't actually done it yet, but I think I still have enough time.
All right. It's a big deal when we are going to acquire a banner in conjunction.
It's annual, so why not have a banner?
Oh, yeah. Bring it out of storage, hang it up, annual sale, put it back. Better than the stupid fifth birthday party banner we got. Can't use that again until maybe 15th when we can scribble a 1 next to the 5th or something.
I'm definitely going to do that.
Although it was very generous of the people to give it to us. We didn't buy that one. They're not.
Yeah, somebody gave it to us. It was a gift. It was a very nice gift.
It was a very nice gift. That is true. But, annual sale is much more banner-worthy, probably.
Probably.
All right, then. Until next time, enjoy your summer reading, and we will see you later on John Updike's Ghost.
Bye-bye.